You are now listening to Out of the Blank.
Welcome to another episode of Out of the Blank podcast. I'm here with Paige Edwards.
Yep, here I am. Hello.
So, Paige, tell me a little bit about yourself and what do you do professionally?
Day-to-day life, I am a health and wellness coach. I'm 25 years old and I'm from Kentucky.
You're from Kentucky and you're a health and
Yeah,
wellness coach. So, what about health and wellness are we talking about here? Because there's a lot of people always look at the physical aspect of things, but you also probably focus on the mental and more the emotional side of things too.
exactly. Yeah. I went to school and I have a what is it? Oh, fitness and exercise sports science degree. Sorry, I forgot. But yeah, you are correct. I do more than just the physical aspect. It's more of like how people react to foods and why they, use foods to deal with their emotions and getting to like the core of a lot of their personal problems that reflect on how they eat or exercise or deal with things, etc. So yeah, that's completely right. It's more the whole basis or the goal is to lose weight, blah blah
It,
blah. But
well, the
you have to
idea
kind of figure
is
out why.
you got to work out and then you got to do this when really the key factors are it's like 80% nutrition and 20% working out. I mean, I've worked out every day for 7 years and I can tell you that doesn't help your mind out at all. I
Yeah.
mean, it is a good sense of relief. Let me tell you. I mean, like when I have a bad day, like let's say my car just broke down recently. So
Hmm.
I'm without a car, but I found a ride to the gym and I was like, nobody bother me for the 2 hours that I'm here. And afterwards, I was like, nothing could bother me. Like people could cut me off in traffic. People could cut me off in the store. I was just floating by like, all right, man.
Yeah, that's the best feeling. It's a huge stress reliever. And I work out pretty significantly as well. And it's just a good way to displace your emotions into something that's not gonna hurt you but kind of better you. So
And especially like if you look at the mental aspect of things, like I went to school for psychology and just understanding like that basis of what emotional problems and physical stress we deal with on a daily basis. This is what we say 80% nutrition and 20% working out, because you can work out 7 days a week like me and still eat like shit and not see results. For me, I have to
exactly.
strict watch my calorie intake, but I pulled my workout addiction, I guess you would say, out of being bullied through school, finding a kind of an emotional investment into something else, something where I only felt a reliance on myself if I didn't go. I always tell people, like, it doesn't have to be about working out. And I mean, you probably see it too when you're in the gym. You notice the people that'll be in there, but they're not going to stay in there. It's never the ones that are super overweight. It's always the ones that go in there the beginning of summer thinking they're going to get that summer body, or they're going to do this at a certain time, like cram it all in last minute. And I'm like, bro, fitness is a fucking roller coaster. Like life is, you got your ups and your downs, your good days and your bad days. Oh, my ass looks fat in these jeans. I know the whole 9 yards when it comes behind that.
Yeah, exactly. It's people I've come to find out that people always want a really fast result with minimal work. And if you're looking to go anywhere in fitness or anywhere in honestly anything, there isn't a fast action, super result thing that just happens overnight. And you're completely right. Fitness is totally a roller coaster. And it's not something that you work towards and it has an end goal. It's something that you constantly have to work towards forever if you want to get to a certain point and stay at that point. And again, I think a lot of people think like, oh, I'm going to work out for 3 months, get toned, lose some weight, and then I never have to work out again. And that's just not how it is at all.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, I've had my moments where like I'll eat like shit a full day, then I'll work out, and then I'll be okay. And then if I eat something like in the middle of the night or something, the next morning I'm at the gym at 2 o'clock in the morning running like 15 miles. Then I get home, eat something, and I'm like, well, that was awesome. But then I'm like messed up through the rest of the day. I'm
Yeah,
like,
it
well,
kind of throws you off.
like your whole body's out of balance. Your body's like, wait, we're supposed like, because when you start working out and you stick to a routine and you go around the same time, you start to develop meal times. You start to develop proper, like when your body gets hungry. But when you go and try and get the quick result, which is like what most people try and do, and I'm at fault for doing it myself too. I'll go for a fasted run in the morning or something, but you
Hmm.
burn so much off wanting that immediate result. And then when you get home, you usually end up eating so much because you've been starving yourself all day.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And
So,
I tell people, like, when I put up a six-pack picture, when I put up whatever on my Instagram, it's not to show off. I'm like, this shit right here, 60% lighting, 20% nutrition, and like 20% working out. I'm like, this is all fucking like, it's gone once I immediately grab like a diet soda or I grab a water. It's just, it disappears. You go and get that post food baby after you have like a nice salad. That six-pack ain't staying.
yeah, that lighting part is hella true, because that's yeah, a large part of it. Because in certain light, you can see the abs, and then you walk away and it's not there, and it's like, well, what the fuck am I, even doing here? But yeah, no, I get it.
I remember my bodybuilding manager was like, hey, let me tell you something. Before you go into bodybuilding, you might have the body for it, but you got to understand it's all about the angle of the lighting. You got to find your right pose, the way it's going to reflect onto your muscles. I'm
Yeah.
like, is it really this strict? He goes, let me show you something. He starts showing me pictures on his phone. I'm like, Chuck, do you have any of you that aren't in a Speedo? And he's like, nah, man, why would I carry those? And I'm like, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
I think as a society, we look at looks more than we do about the inside of what a person is. And I know that sounds like, some crummy little whatever Disney story, but it's really not, because we live on a world where it seems like you can get farther based on your looks.
Oh, 100%. 100%. That's why, have you seen that thing about how the CEO of Instagram put out a announcement that they're going to take away likes on Instagram to try and improve mental health or whatever? It's because all these people like base their appearance on how many likes they get, not like, how their personality is or how they interact with people or how they treat people.
Well,
So yeah, the whole thing is.
it's not even your looks and appearance anymore. It seems like everybody tries to prove their self-worth through some random like, and then they have to go and pay for followers just to get their upgrade or to get their self-esteem in check. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, where are we going as people where we're just going to pay for bots to like our stuff? And like, we know they're bots, and just because you get that like, it makes you feel better, like you feel like you're producing something. I'm like, you can get that same effect if you actually told some people you cared about and they actually supported you going through your change.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I saw an article where they're like promoting it to better, mental health and all that stuff. But in reality, they're doing it just to cut out the middleman of like social media influencers, so they don't have to pay them. They can just pay, like a company can just pay Instagram strictly just to run an ad instead of having these people do it. So
Now,
it's all money.
do you think social influencers, all these types of people, are helpful or kind of destructive to the world? Because it seems like it goes in different strides. I like when I follow realbodybuilders.com or these pages on Instagram, these are
Hmm.
the people that show you their abs, and then there's a second photo that you swipe and you see the real them after they had a meal. Like, they show you the realest aspect. Like, this shit is not meant to last. But I feel like anytime you look up on your phone, you look up some type of site, they're showing like some Abercrombie and Finch model. And then you got to understand, if there's people with genetics that can't be like that, there's people that don't have the body for it, don't have the, whatever it is, just because there are people out in this world that will never, ever have a six pack. They could work their ass off to get it, but it's just not in their cards. And I think it creates a kind of a blow to your self-esteem.
Um, hmm. I don't know. I think it depends on the transparency of the social media influencer, like you said, in like the different pictures, or kind of what message they're promoting. Because there are some that I follow that are like super inspiring and like this one in particular, she's all about like girl power and like promoting femininity and like all this shit. But then you have some that there's one I follow just for the sheer entertainment aspect. And he went into a restaurant and he was trying to convince this, like the restaurant owner, that he should get his food for free just because he has like 100,000 followers. And
Oh
it's like,
shit! Really?
yeah, like,
Does that actually work?
I don't think it worked for him. He just wound up getting kicked out,
Can
like
I get
after he
a
paid. But
can I get a Popeye's chicken sandwich for free if I have a certain amount of likes on a page? That'd be amazing.
yeah, yeah, if you don't get punched first, maybe.
Good God.
But yeah, I think it just depends on the transparency of the person, and the message they're promoting, whether or not they're kind of like a douchebag or not about it. So,
Have you seen the way the world's going with social credit?
what do you mean by that?
Well, now we're like in China, it's very, very popular. They run off a social credit system. So if you are a good person, you pay your debts, you pay your loans, you pay all these types of things like school fees. If you let people, if you cross the crosswalk at a reasonable like time when you're actually supposed to do it rather than jaywalking, you're deemed as a good person in society's eyes. But if you jaywalk, if you do these things, they put you on blast in front of everybody in your community. They'll show your ass up on the big screen and show you that you're not a good person. It can stop you from getting a home. There was a woman that did a report on it, a guy that was actually did not pay his school debt. He's just was broke and has no money at the time. And they took away his payment for a house that he put down. They took away, they wouldn't let his kids get an education at a good school that you had to pay a couple $1,000s for, all on the basis of he didn't pay back this one fee. It goes to the basis of not paying your parking tickets, to the point where it creates a snitch society. And literally, you get good credit, good social credit is basically what they use to get around in the world. And if you snitch on your neighbor, let's say you have a neighbor that's mowing his lawn at 2 o'clock in the morning and you call the cops, then that person gets deemed as a bad person and you get social credit for ratting on that person.
Um, I don't know how I feel about that. I can see what they were trying to do, as in trying to basically bribe people to be better people.
Yeah, trying to
But
give them
but
an
on
incentive to kind of act right, but that creates a fake display of society, because then people are gonna end up doing what they always do and take it in the wrong aspect and start twisting and lying just to get good credit.
Yeah, and then I could also see the flip side to where, like, if somebody does run out of money some months and just can't pay something, I don't. It's nobody's business to put them on blast about it and like try and accuse them of being a shitty person when they just happen to be low on money for a month. I don't really necessarily like that, especially if it affects all those different aspects of their lives, all the way down to their children. I think
Yeah.
that's kind of fucked. But
It's what sucks is because like I just recently got into this because I started seeing articles on the news and they were talking about social credit in China, and they were like, oh, they were talking about all the problems with it. I'm like, we technically do a form of that here. The fact that someone with popularity or being famous can get so much handed to them when someone who might be more right for the position gets looked at in a way. I mean, the
yeah,
fact that when you go into a resume, where you have a resume or anything, you put all the wonderful things about yourself on there, like all your degrees and everything, thinking that's going to get you a hired position because you might be more educated for the job. But who's to say the person that's more passionate about whatever field you're applying for shouldn't get the job? I feel like if I was a CEO of a business and you handed me a resume with a bunch of degrees and all your titles and whatever you want to consider your self-worth, I look at it and I'm like, okay, well, are you excited to do the job? I could take it or leave it. Yeah, you're not getting hired.
yeah.
You might be better suited educational standards wise, but if I see a kid that wants to play video games and wants to find out the backs and ends all the way to the video game system and tells me like, hey, I don't have a college education, but I'm so willing to do this because I'm so passionate about it, I feel like I should give that kid a shot rather than the person with all the degrees.
Yeah, and that's a really like tough place to be in when you're deciding between the two. It's because like anybody could bullshit you in an interview or like when you're applying for anything, because it's all about like face value and all that shit. But if you wind up knowing that the person without the degree has the heart for it instead of just, you know, the $1,000 piece of paper, then sometimes that does benefit you, but you just have to take the risk on that person, I guess. So
Do you think that it's just going to get to the point where on your resume, it's just going to say how many follows and likes you have on a certain social media page?
honest to God, I think that's how they get models, like runway
True.
models and shit, because there have been so many influencers that I used to follow since like Vine, when Vine was big. And, you know, all these people are like super pretty or like very handsome and stuff. And they could, you know, very easily be a model. And I'm not saying that I don't know anything about modeling, so I'm not sure if it's hard or what, but there are a shit ton of influencers that just overnight become models because of their social standing, or if they're just like an attractive person, or they have a lot of social influence. So, I mean, I think it might depend on the job, but modeling, I've noticed, has been a lot of influencer turned, you know, runway.
Yeah, well, when I look at like there's a recent exposure of a bunch of models, and I think it was I forgot what social person did it, but they took all their photos and it was them in a pose, but in the background it was like a green screen or some false kind of thing. It really wasn't them.
Hmm.
Actually at the place, like it was a woman going on the pyramids or something, and really it was just her climbing up a staircase, and they gave it like a fake background and used all these Photoshop effects. Like I think that's been pretty popularly known throughout history. When you see like a bikini advertisement or a weight loss advertisement, it seems like it's a lot of Photoshop that gets involved. And I question that because I deem that unfair because it creates an unrealistic, I guess, expectation for people to kind of try and perceive, especially if they're trying to go on their own weight loss journey. Like if you're just surrounded by all these six-pack bodybuilded, you know, touch up, whatever photos, you're not going to have the motivation to try and get that because you'll think you'll never aspire to be there.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree. And I did see once that they were trying to there's this app called FaceTune that you can alter your pictures, or like smooth your skin, or, you know, try and kind of alter your body without having to pay for Photoshop. And I saw that at one point Instagram was trying to ban or face-tuned pictures before they could be posted. I'm not sure how they were going to determine that necessarily, but I know that it was like a huge thing because a lot of influencers use that. And I think I know the girl you're talking about, having all the Photoshop pictures. I saw another one where some girl was recreating all these different pictures and like these different beaches, but the sky picture was the exact same in every landscape. Like the clouds never changed. And she was a social media influencer getting a ton of money for all these branded, you know, ads, pictures, and all this shit. And then she wound up like losing a bunch of followers because they figured out, you know, the sky was the same in all her pictures. And it's like, who the fuck cares? Like, if you're not actually going to all these islands and all this shit, like literally no one cares. But it's all about, you know, presence and perfection and all that. So
It
whatever.
seems like we base our self-worth on that. I think it's weird because I've hung around like a kid that tried to act like a social media influencer. And I remember
Hmm.
it was just 10 o'clock at night. We're at the community rec center. I'm probably like 14 years old. It's just me and my buddy. And he invites one of his friends that I didn't really get to know a whole lot. And as soon as we get there, we're just playing hoops. I mean, we had like three basketballs, three guys just playing. That sounds like a bad porn. But we're just shooting hoops. We're having fun, like, you know, just you know, chilling, kind of like just killing the rest of the night, I guess, playing there.
Hmm.
And he goes, "I'm gonna put up a Facebook post." I'm like, "Okay, like what?" And he goes, "I'm gonna let people know where we're at." And I'm like, "Why are we letting people know where we're at? It's 10 o'clock at night. This isn't like an open game. Like everybody come down, let's shoot some hoops." He goes, "But if we don't post it," and I'm like, "If we don't post what?" He goes, "If we don't post it, how will people know that we played?" And I'm like, what? How do you what do you mean? Like, how do you we know we played, right? Like, we know we're doing this right now, right? Yeah, but we gotta get our likes up, our follows, man. Every time I hung out with him, and he would always, whenever we went to go out to eat, he took a picture of his food, put it up on Facebook, put it up on Instagram. And I'm like,
Mhm.
why? He goes, you got to get those follows up, man. Like, you shout me out, I'll shout you out. I'm like, stop. Like, I'm not even addicted to this. Like, it scares me because, like, I put up a post on Instagram for the face or for our page or something. And next thing I know, I'm like, I get 1-2 likes. I'm like, I can see where that can get addicting for people. I think it's a false sense of connectivity. I mean, we rely in like the faith or the kind of the acceptance of others to judge our own self-worth. And I'm like, I'm not about it, you know?
Yeah, well, as a female, I feel like the whole tagging and checking in places is especially dangerous. I talked about this on our podcast, but there was one point where this guy on Instagram kept messaging me and like doing all this stuff, and I posted about how I got tickets to this concert, and it was like a month away, and all this stuff. And on the day, I didn't say I was still going. It was just like when I got the tickets. And the guy that kept messaging me on Instagram that I didn't know showed up at that concert.
I didn't see you,
And
girl. Where are you at, yo?
yeah, and then he messaged me and he's like, "Oh, like I really like the jacket you're wearing. You look nice." And I was like, what the fuck? How do you know what I'm wearing? Because I didn't post any pictures or anything. Because I don't like, I'll take pictures at something, but I won't post them until I'm gone for that, exact reason. But yeah, he like came to the concert, and like, those are public events. He has every right to. But the fact that he messaged me and he's like, "Oh, like you look really pretty today. I like your like it was so fucking creepy.
He straight up
And
bought a ticket to stalk you.
yeah, and I'm so glad I was with a bunch of people that I knew. I wound up showing some of my friends like, "Hey, if you like see some dude that looks like this, like let me know." But yeah, I'll never do that again. And it's just really scary about like getting followed around or like people just showing up places. Like I could not even imagine being like any type of famous and having people stalk you all the time, or like show up at your house or show up at the restaurant you're at or shit like that. That was a very minor experience, and it scared the shit out of me.
I think it's the most dangerous thing now with how big of our digital footprint is. I mean, we
Yeah.
don't really realize what we put up or what we could do. And even though putting up a picture to a concert tickets, like that's nothing that should impact anybody, but that does create an opening for a stalker or for someone who just sees that and decides like, hey, I'm going to go meet this person there.
Yeah. Ugh.
It really changes the boundaries on what you got to post. But it's like that shouldn't be a thing you can't have to post. I've been to plenty of concerts, okay? I've been,
Mhm.
but it also goes into the incriminating way. We put a lot of reliance and fun into social media, and that's what it's meant to be. It's what it's there for. It's meant to be able to connect us, like the benefits to it when it comes to Facebook, when that came out. There were a bunch
Mhm.
of people that graduated from school that were trying to reconnect to their friends that they graduated with. Like, are you going to the class reunion? You'd be like, yeah, Paul died in like 34 years ago, but I know he's not going. And it's
Yeah.
like nowadays, like kids are putting up like, especially really revealing photos. And I mean, I know I'm sounding a little bit elderly here, even though I'm not, but it's scary because that stuff can come back to haunt you. And like, I already have I noticed there was an addiction, at least with social media, because I broke my phone, and it's just addiction to electronics in general. I mean, they've made our lives so damn comfortable. You know what I mean? It's not
Mhm.
difficult to really do anything anymore. The fact that if you really want to go and buy something, you can just order it online. And next, Amazon has that shit flying through your window the next day.
Yeah, that's very true. Um, the amount of time that I spend on social media is actually kind of embarrassing. I will 100% admit that I'm addicted to it. Um, and I tried to go a week without it, and that was fine and good and stuff. But I just wound up finding that I would just sit here and do absolutely nothing. Like I didn't even know like how to fill up my time without browsing my phone constantly. And that's a problem that I have now that I've like set a timer for. I can only spend like 5 hours on social media a day, which is still a ton, but significantly less than what I was doing. So I can't even imagine people that work from their phones, how they feel like these influencers and all that have to work from their phone to make money, how addicted they feel to social media as well.
Yeah, that stops you if you look at the influencers. It seems like if you're trying to work for like a supplement company, if you're trying to like, I remember when I was really like, I'm still super into the gym, but when I was taking like an exclusive brands of supplements like extensively, I was like, how much to get a sponsorship? How much to do this? And like the woman's like, you have to have this much credit, you have to have this much of a social following, you have to have this much and this much. I'm like, but what happens if I use your product and I actually religiously kind of like use it and I can show results? Like I don't want to give off a false perception of it. Like if you're just hiring people who already have the good body who've never used your product before, you're honestly being disloyal to your community by doing that.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. What kind of music do you listen to, or like what kind of concerts do you happen to normally be at?
Ah, man, I like all music. Both my parents are in radio, so I was kind of developed all under the sun. I go from rock, reggae. I listen to classical music. I mean, most concerts that I would choose to go to were mostly reggae concerts. Like I've seen 311. I've met them. I don't know if you know the band Pepper. Um,
No, I don't really listen to reggae, except for one of my friends is super into the Dirty Heads.
yeah, the
Do
Dirty.
you ever listen to that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've met them and I've actually hung out with them for a few hours because they came to the radio station. I've seen them multiple times, but
Oh,
like
nice.
I had a singer. There's a band that opened up for 311. Their name is Ballyhoo, but
Hmm.
the singer's been on my podcast, and I just messaged him. Like they're all cool people, and I mean, I used to have that kind of fantasy aspect, like, oh my god, I just met him, and then it was like my cousin really put it into terms in the best way ever. So my
Hmm.
cousin used to be babysitted by Sam Elliott, and I don't know if you know who Sam Elliott is.
Yeah, I do. Hmm.
Yeah, and I remember, like, I was like, you're about as like, imagine having a mustache like Sam Elliott. My cousin's like, yeah, that guy used to babysit me, and I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah, and starts walking away. I'm like, hold the fucking phone, come back here, don't just walk away. He goes, Robbie, they're just people, and I'm like, what? Like, you understand? Like, that's the guy that does the Silverado truck commercials. And he's like,
Yeah.
yeah, but they're just a person that found something that they're good at and they adapted to it and they went full on into it. And he's like, I also met Ric Flair at an airport. And then he started walking down the steps, and I swear to God, I full on him as tackled him. I was like, hold on, don't walk away after you're dropping all this information. I need to know.
Yeah, that's crazy. I have like met a couple people, and the first one was this girl that used to be the lead singer of the band Hey Monday, and then she won her season of The Voice, and I had been a fan of hers for so fucking long. Like I was absolutely obsessed with her, and that's the one person I absolutely freaked out when I met her. Like I kept my cool in front of her. I didn't want to seem like crazy, but that was the one person that I've met that I was like absolutely obsessed with and super excited about. But yeah, I could see where, I mean, a lot of people do have the fantasy about like meeting these like rich, famous people and all that stuff. But your cousin's completely right. They are just people that, happen to luck out or like know the correct people. Not saying they're not talented, but
No, they're cool as shit when you meet them. I mean, when I met the singer for Slightly Stupid, um, Kyle, and we smoked.
Mhm.
It was on my birthday, and we smoked a joint. He just jumped off stage like it's my birthday's New Year's Eve, so um, it was snowing out. We're in Baltimore, and freaking they played 3 hours longer than they were supposed to. So they played till like 3 o'clock in the morning. Everyone was fucking ready to go home. There was like a snowing its ass off outside. Everybody was like, oh, we got work, shit, we got work, And then so I stayed back there looking for a fucking guitar pick like an idiot. And then he just
Mhm.
jumps off stage and grabs me by the shoulder. He's like, how old are you, man? I'm like 16. And he's like, dude, you're way too young to be at this concert. I was like, yeah, but I was here and it was awesome. Best birthday gift ever. He was like, wait a minute, it's your fucking birthday? I'm like, yeah. So then he sparks up this thing. He's like, hit this. So two things go in my head. One, if I'm going to smoke weed, it's definitely going to be with the singer from Slightly Stupid. And two, I can't believe this isn't happening. He's handing me a joint right now. So I mean, it was just well and known, but I mean, they're two wrestling coaches from high school, and they got like from they teach wrestling out of high school, but they were pulled out of high school by the band Sublime, and Bradley took them onto their record label, and that's how they grew from that. Like so, like a lot of people love Sublime, but it's like it's crazy to look at that these are all just people that found a way to make it in this world too and find something they're really good at, which shows like if you have enough drive towards anything, whether it's like being the best IKEA furniture builder or whatever the hell you want to talk about, you if you just put your mind to it, you can achieve so much.
Yeah, I completely agree. If you want to be anything in life, there's opportunity to be anything you want to, but it's not going to fall into your lap like it will for some people. You will have to actually work for it. So
I think the worst thing is to meet your hero and then figure out they're an asshole.
okay, yeah, I see that.
Like, because you put so much faith and loved in. That's why like, a lot of people are like, you never want to meet your hero because you never know what they're going to be like. It seems like a lot of the older ones that stay in touch with their fans a lot more, not the ones that just constantly post like, buy my merch on social media or whatever. It's more like
Mm-hmm.
the ones that choose to do like the meetings and like the hangouts afterwards, like a lot of comedians do, the ones that are really in tune with the audience. They seem like
Mm-hmm.
they give more of a shit about the people that actually go and see them.
Yeah, it's because they're taking the time to actually like talk with the people that support them and like make what they're doing an actual career, not some bullshit that they do as a hobby. So if you pay back to the people that support you, yeah, it's gonna keep you humble, I'd say.
So, I mean, I've talked to Ezra and I've talked to Eric on the podcast. Now,
Mm-hmm.
who with Porch Talk? I know you guys. It's just the concept, kind of like sitting on the porch, like shooting the shit, just conversation, different topics and stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
what do you usually try and focus on when something comes to mind? Like, what do you find in particularly interesting?
So just like my personal preference on what to speak of, or like what
Yeah,
do
like
I bring
I
to the podcast?
I think like when it comes to the podcast, like everyone's got their area of focus. It seems like, Ezra probably has like the kind of like the, what's going on and like kind of like the funny aspect of the group. And then you
Mm-hmm.
got, Eric maybe still doing some funny, but kind of hitting it on like a different side of things, still kind of keep the conversation going, more like trying to focus down on what you guys are talking about specifically. What do you bring to the table?
I would say obviously I bring like the female aspect. Um, because sometimes they're very out of perspective when it comes to how it affects like the other gender. But then more so, you are correct. They're obviously the funny ones. Like I'm not as near as funny as them. So I'd say I would bring more of like the realistic. All right, bring them back down to earth and like get to the point.
Yeah,
But that's how I am in
yeah,
that's how I am in real life too, though. So that makes sense.
You coming from a logical standpoint. I try and do that sometimes too. If you go too far on the cloud nine, it's hard to kind of come back. You know what I mean? It's always cool to have
Yeah.
someone leveled thinking of it. Like, okay, guys, we can't just sell all our belongings right now and go to Yellowstone and camp. We just can't do that. We have jobs. We have things that we need to do. You can't throw in a random pitch like that. You always want to have someone in the group who's level headed. I mean, you got to think if you're in a zombie apocalypse, you know what I mean? Everybody's got a plan for it. So like you got one dude going and buying all the condoms and freaking porno mags. And then you're like, what the hell, man? Like we need to be getting water. We need to be getting things to survive with. Like, what are we going to do with this? He's like, dude, it's just cool. Like it's free.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm more of the realistic, you know, voice of reason, I would probably say.
So what types of things have you guys talked about that you feel like you had kind of like more of an interest in? And then what's some of the things you talked about that you really don't like?
Things I don't like to talk about are definitely politics, which is something as an adult I should really be paying attention to, but I don't have any interest in it. I literally rely on Ezra and Eric to tell me, the basic summary so I know how to make a decision, because it's just not something I've ever been interested in. I never liked history or government in school. It's just never like been my thing. Um, as far as things I like to talk about, obviously when it comes to like health and all that, I'm super interested in it. It's what I'm educated in, etc. Um, I'm really into music. I'm like an avid concert goer. I probably go to at least, 20 a year, something around there. Um,
What's your fascination with concerts? Because for me, like my parents work at radio stations, so I get free tickets to anything I want, but I never go to concerts. And like before, when I was 20, like before I was 21, you know, there were a very limited amount of concerts I would want to go to because there's only so many I could go into. But I have not been to one since I've been 21. It's just, I mean, we have in my local town, it's a tourist attraction spot. So we have bars on every street. And one of the most popular ones, like there's always parties. Dirty Heads come down, play all the time. All these bands come and play all the time. And I'm just like, I don't ever feel like going to see them because it's just, I don't know. It's something that's like, I guess it's because, you know, you have the opportunity or you have that around you constantly that you just don't feel the need to use it.
Yeah, I could see that. I'm in a very small little rural town in Kentucky, so there's not much to do here. But I've always been like a huge music fan, and I feel like I am my happiest and my most content self when I am at some kind of live music event, whether it's just like a regular concert or music festival. That's like when I am the happiest. So I think that's why I always want to go and always do try to go. And I will put forth strong amounts of effort and gas mileage into going to a concert of somebody I love, or not even somebody I love, just if, you know, a friend needs a tag along buddy. Like, I know no matter what, I'm going to have a good time. So I'm going to go.
So what types of concerts do you go to? Like, let's talk about genre here.
The most prominent one is probably like alternative rock or like screamo or like kind of metal concerts. That's what I normally tend to go to, and that's what most of my favorite bands are. But then I also have like the side of me that just fucking loves mainstream pop as much as I don't want to. I do like the Jonas Brothers, or I don't fucking know, Kelly Clarkson, or just shit like that, because that's what you hear on the radio. I love Ed Sheeran. He's great. But yeah, so
Have you
kind
noticed
of anything. But
have you noticed the vibes of the different concerts that you go to?
yes, after you go to a metal concert where there's like fucking crowd surfing and mosh pits and all kinds of stuff, it's really hard to go to a country concert and have a good time, because most people are just standing there like beer in hand swaying back and forth, whereas at a screamo concert you're like jumping up and down, headbanging, like everybody's going fucking wild. Like, I've seen people get punched in the face, which, you know, I'm not a huge advocate of. I don't really like mosh
Look,
pits, but the
every
entertainment
concert
value.
every concert I've ever been to, it's been basically a ritual that I've gotten beer spilled on me. I don't know how the fuck it always happens, but it always does. Either happens at the very beginning to the point where it's happened so many times now. I literally, before I walk in, I just tell my buddy, just throw a fucking beer on me and get it over with now. Because it wouldn't just be him. I remember I listen to reggae music. I've seen G Love and Special Sauce. I've seen alternative rock. I've seen everything like that. I love those types of things. I went to G Love and Special Sauce, and the opening band was it was a country band. This dude just pulled out a harmonica and started fucking shredding. And I mean, I was blown away by it because it was really, really good blues stuff. I mean, just amazing. Then I went to a Steve Aoki concert. I don't know.
Okay.
At the time, I didn't know who the hell Steve Aoki was. My buddy's like, "Hey, I got these tickets. My buddy bailed out on me last minute. Would you want to go to a concert in Philly right now?" I'm like, "Screw it. You know, life's all about, you know, just being spontaneous. Let's do it." So I went with them up on the trip. It was all paid for, gas. He did everything. I already had the hotel room booked, and I'm all the way up top in the bleachers because I'm like, or not the bleachers, but like in the side top part, like in the lounge part of the bar upstairs. I'm just chilling up there, hanging out next to a couple adults. When I mean adults, they're like in their late 30s. And all the kids are down at the bottom. I guess, I mean, they're my age, but I call them kids. They were all wearing fingerless gloves with the glow lights and spinning around and doing rave shit. So I'm like, this is a way different vibe than I'm used to. So I'm just going to sit up here. The music wasn't bad. I like all types, but you know, it was like, I knew like one song, and that was like the only one I was able to like really get into. But as I'm walking out, I'm like, wow, I went through a full concert and no one spilled beer on me. As I'm fucking walking out, some dude above me dumped beer as I was hitting the exit, and it fucking spilled all on my shoulder, all the way down my back in freaking 30-degree weather. And I was like, son of a bitch. And my buddy goes, dude, it really does happen every time. I'm like, I fucking know.
Yeah, you must just like radiate like fucking spill beer on me or some shit. There's no way
I
that
got
I guess
beer
the universe planned
hormones.
it for you. Yeah.
I got beer hormones. I got them, those attractors.
Yeah, there you go.
I
That
mean,
sucks though.
it is fun though to go into concerts. I definitely like. I mean, I went to an orchestra one time, and bear with me on this. I didn't even decide to do that until I went to college and had a music appreciation class. Like I'm sitting there, like, "Where's my boy on the triangle? Where's my boy on the triangle?" My teacher's like, "Can you just watch it, please?" And I'm like, "I'm waiting for my man on the triangle to come up here." But after I was watching it, I was like, "Wow!" Like they're doing Beethoven's like Fifth Symphony, and it's like it's really fucking they put in a lot of work and a lot of practice to get the because it was done perfectly. So I was like, might as well go and try this local symphony that's happening down in my town. And I decided to look into it. It's just a whole different vibe. I mean, I still was able to get into it, but it was like you get to see the crowd change, the atmosphere change. Like if you're in a hardcore punk rock concert or something, there's mosh pits, there's people throwing jabs, everybody's jumping up and down, headbanging. It becomes like Wayne's World, where you go and strike up a lighter and then light the dude's hair out on in front of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I could see where like I don't turn down any concert unless it's just somebody that I fucking hate. Like I will literally never go to a Taylor Swift concert until I die. But
Why?
I
Because you
could
don't like
see,
that she talks about all her exes?
oh my gosh, she just whiny as shit and I can't stand listening to her music. And people say I kind of look like her too. So I think that's why I also don't like her. It's just her music and then I don't want to look like her because I don't like her. So it's just but anyway.
Can you sing?
Um
Can you sing me one of her singles?
oh absolutely not. I couldn't even name one, I
She's
don't think.
cheer captain and I'm on the bleachers.
Yeah, that's when her music was fucking good and it wasn't just trash.
I worked
But
at a
anyway.
water park and they played that song consistently. If I hear that one and then the song We Are Young, I start to go into extreme anxiety panic.
PTSD of the water park.
They freaking played it on a loop in the one spot I had to sit and work every single day. And it was like the one radio station that played like the top 5 songs, like, you're listening to KO 105 Pop, the best of pop. And the next thing you know, you start hearing like freaking We Are Young or Call Me Maybe. And I'm like, all right, I don't want to call her ever. I don't want to ever give her a call. She could just keep that phone by her all day long and she's not getting a ring.
Yeah, no, I don't fuck with Taylor Swift at all. But I could see we're going to like an orchestra and watching a performance. Even if you don't enjoy the music, you could definitely, like you said, appreciate all the practice and time they've put into their craft. My aunt used to play violin in an orchestra up in Wisconsin. So I know how much that she like valued that and loved it and the amount of time, it took her from her family just to be able to like go on tour and play and stuff. So I could definitely appreciate, that, but it's not really my forte to listen to per se.
Like I like the whole kind of the trip aspect to it too. It is pretty difficult, but I remember driving all the way up to Philadelphia with my buddy, and I'm pretty sure you probably have a memorable experience of going to a concert.
Yeah.
Just the whole camaraderie behind it. But for
Mm-hmm.
me, like I remember stopping like halfway. There's once you get over the Bay Bridge in Baltimore, they have a
Mm-hmm.
Wawa right over the bridge. So it's like if you have to go to the bathroom, go now. So we go in there and we get pizza combos. So we'd have those. We'd be eating them the whole trip up there. And I remember like pulling up to the toll booth and the woman's like, it's $2.25. I'm like, shit. So we're scouring around looking for change. And my buddy's just like, yo, hand her some combos. I'm like, are you fucking stupid? Like, that's not going to work. And I could see her looking over where I did want to ask the question, would you take pizza combos as payment? But like just the whole trip. I mean, I remember coming back from the concert at 1:00 in the morning, and we went to College Park, and there was a place called Ratsy's. Now, any pizza place named Ratsy's, you probably wouldn't want to eat at, but it's 1:00 in the morning, so bear with us. And I sat down and had
Yeah.
this slice of pizza, dude, that was the size of like a full-on pie. And I mean, it was the best thing. I mean, probably wasn't the best nutritional, but it was so fucking good for 1:00 in the morning. And like, it was like the drunk spot. Like everybody was drunk eating subs and shit. And we're in a college town. So, yeah, I'm sober, but I'm eating this pizza and I'm like, I think I'm enjoying it more than you guys are. Like, this is really filling a void. But the whole camaraderie that like going up on the trip and stuff. I mean, like, what's your most memorable experience?
My most memorable experience. Um, hmm. This isn't really a good one, but the most memorable thing that happened to me was, do you remember earlier this year when we had that polar vortex shit and it was just cold as hell in like Chicago
The
and
world
it was
was
like,
ending. Yes. Yeah.
yeah.
Global
So,
warming's a myth. Don't forget.
yeah. Like I want to say it was like 4 months earlier, I had bought tickets to go see Kacey Musgraves in Columbus, Ohio. And that's like a 3.5 hour drive for me. So it's not like, a quick trip. It's like you need to put forth some effort. But the night that it got super bad is when that concert was. And I was like, oh, like, it's going to be worse near like Chicago. And it's like pretty west of here. So like we should be okay. And we drive up there and it's totally fine. And we go to the concert and it's great, all that stuff. On the way back, it starts snowing. And this was in January. In September, I had just had a really bad car accident where I flipped my car a couple times on the highway and hit like the cement median in the middle. So I have like severe PTSD when it comes to like driving in severe weather conditions. So I had to drive in this fucking snow and it was snowing so bad there were no like lanes and it was like 3 o'clock in the morning trying to like drive back to Kentucky. And I had to drop off one friend and then I had to continue the rest of the way. And I remember just being like terrified coming back from that concert. And I think that's my most memorable experience. It was but it's because it was so terrible. Not because it was like, I mean, the concert was great. I don't really remember much of it, but the drive to that was absolutely miserable.
Yeah, when I drove to Philly, I have to go see Slightly Stupid. No, it was the Dirty Heads, the Expendables, and I forgot who opened up before them. But
Mm.
it was in Philly in like this giant park I've never been before. That's always the pain in the ass is trying to find parking once you get to the place because you don't know the area and you're like, where are we going? Like everything's
Yes.
you're trying to like turn down all these streets, keep having to go around the same shit over and over and over again. And you finally find parking and you got to walk and then it's like, and then you get there, you have fun, but then it's like getting when you're going home. So I remember we stopped at Walmart before we left Philly. And then as we're heading back, we got a good like 3.5 hour drive ahead of us and it's
Mm-hmm.
midnight. So I'm an insomniac. So I told my buddy, like, I'll drive it. Like, I'm fine with it. Like, as long as we got something playing on in the background. My buddy just passes the fuck out. I mean, right in this, like, no talking, trying to keep me company or anything. So it's just me driving with my leftover pizza combos because that's like my ritual. You always got to get the pizza combos. Most
Okay.
nutritional value, like an egg McMuffin from McDonald's.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm like noticing like the car's pretty silent. I don't have the radio on, no music's playing, and I'm hearing that bottom, bottom, bottom. It's your car going over those lines in the road.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That started making me so drowsy, and like we're now getting on like this bridge. He's still passed out. I can like him snoring a little bit is making me really really tired. So I'm rolling down the window and trying to get cold air on my face. I'm trying all the tips and tricks, like slapping myself a little bit, trying to make sure I can stay awake. And like
Mhm.
eventually, like I start drowsing. I think that's probably the scariest thing.
Oh, falling asleep while driving?
Yeah, because you close your eyes for a couple seconds, and then like it feels like you can't open them, and then you open them up, and like, oh shit, like I was just conked out on the road for like a good minute. Like you don't even know. Like I remember hearing my dad talk about his stories because my dad used to drive from Florida when we were kids. He would
Mhm.
drive 14 hours in a day, sleep an hour, and then drive it back.
That's crazy.
He did that constantly. Like he would like because at this time my grandfather had passed away, so we were staying up in Florida to help my grandmom out. And I'm a little kid, and my mom was like, "I don't want to be without you" or whatever. So he was
Mhm.
driving all the way home, going into work, like setting up stuff for the radio, sleeping an hour there in the office, and then coming all the way back to Florida, and then going right back out after he would only be there for like an hour. Like I was like, "How did you do it?" He's like, "Dude, there were times where like I could have easily just been in a ditch because I'm lucky it didn't happen." He was telling me all the tips and tricks, like get a little wet towel and put it on your face. I'm like, man, it seems like half the struggle is getting to the concert or just getting to your destination.
Oh yeah, it definitely is. The drive is the shittiest part for sure.
Well, it's fun when you're going there, but then on your way back, you're like, fuck, we're going back home. Like, fun's
Yeah,
over
exactly.
now.
Exactly, yeah.
I think that's where you got to recommend getting a hotel room, because I think one of the best experiences I've had was waking up from like a Holiday or Quality Inn, fucking rolling in there and getting the free breakfast, getting a little bit of Raisin Bran in a cup with a little bit of egg.
Yeah, now that I work from home, it's a lot easier for me to do that kind of shit. I used to always be on like this weird time schedule where I worked 11 to 7, and you were always like rushing to everything, but then you had to be back, and it was just a pain in the ass. But now I could potentially just do a whole hotel room thing and not make a huge deal out of it. I might do that, but we'll see.
Do you think that it's weird that like nowadays you start hearing the music, like the most popular hits, they all kind of sound the same?
Yeah, they all have the same like um the same shit, what's the word I'm looking for, like the same bass to every song, or like especially all these EDM tracks. Like recently I just went and watched the chain smokers, and it's just, you know, two dudes, and they barely sing. They normally just have somebody feature and do the singing for them, and I'm not saying they're not talented, but they played for like 2.5 hours, and I could barely differentiate between all of their different songs because they all sounded like electronic, you know, just the same thing over and over and over.
Well, it's like classic rock back in the day, like the songs that actually last through the years, like, you know, like a
Mm-hmm.
good Bon Jovi lyric, or if you want to look at AC/DC or maybe some Led Zeppelin, or
Yeah, Aerosmith.
yeah, the ones that actually, like, it feels like they crafted out the time to actually make the song. Well, if you look at the songs nowadays, like the reason why they're not meant to last, they're meant to hit the charts for like a month and then be off the charts and go to something else, because they're studiotized beats. There's actually a pitch in our hearing. It's like in a layer of like decibels or whatever that our ears are in tune with. So once we hear it, it gets stuck in our head to where it plays over and over and over again. Old Town Road was like that. All About That Bass was like that. And it's it's not real honest music, to be honest with you. It's just the studio was like, hey, we need an artist to do like hiring a social influencer to do the face of the song. It's like, we already got the beat, just we need you to put your lyrics over it or something, because they know what's going to work, but they're not making it to last anymore. They just want to get that chart. They just want to get that quick 1 month in there, you know, get that voice out there, and that's it.
Yeah, that quick buck. That's all you need.
I feel like it scares me because I do have a giant passion for music. I mean, from Kiss, all the stuff that my dad's a fan of, and then, you know, I mean, they all own records and stuff because they worked at radio stations. So I mean, every day I was listening to something new from all over. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I still like the classics, the good old Frank Sinatra, When You're Down. I just love that. It seems like any mood that you're in, there's a form of music for it.
Oh, 100%. One of my favorite things to do is get on Spotify and search a different mood that I'm in and see what kind of playlist comes up and see if like I'm gonna enjoy it in that moment. But yeah, I agree.
Just hit nostalgia on your Spotify playlist and watch, and then pick the year that you remember the most, like the 2000s or the 90s. And next thing you know,
Mm-hmm.
you get hit with a wave of nostalgia that is out of the world. I mean, I was listening to nothing but Green Day one day. I was like, I fucking remember this, like going to school, wondering when September's going to end. Like, holy shit.
Yeah, yeah, I love Green Day.
Well, Paige, thanks so much for doing the podcast. I appreciate you taking the time to get on, and I'm glad I got another member of the Porch Talk down.
Yeah, yeah, of course. You'll have to come on ours someday.
So I want to give you here a minute at the end to kind of promote your content.
Okay, yeah. Me and my three friends, Ezra and Eric, like it's already been mentioned, have our own podcast called Porch Talk. And it's just three friends, and we've only known each other for a couple of years, but we're like super tight knit, and like you said, kind of shoot the shit about pretty much anything and everything. Yeah. So if you want, you should listen to it. It's on Spotify and Apple Music, and I believe also Google Play, or follow us on Instagram for any updates.
You did better than Ezra did. Ezra plugged his social media account. He wanted to get followers. I was like, dude, that's dangerous slope you're playing there, buddy.
No, I don't promote that very much.
You don't want people showing up at your concert.
Exactly. You
Well,
got to be careful.
thanks so much, Paige, for being on this episode of Out of the Blank, and stay tuned for our next episode.